Okay, I see a lot of folks have joined in too. Everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining. Um, so, starting young in the startup world takes vision, courage, and a little bit of rebellious optimism. It means stepping into a space where innovation is king, but experience is currency. And you're here to prove that fresh ideas can be just as powerful as years of experience. Welcome to Starting Young, what it means to be a foundess in today's startup ecosystem, a conversation that is designed to inspire, inform, and ignite action. My name is Saniha, and I'm your moderator for today's session. Through Grace, we're committed to creating a space where women in AI and tech don't just participate, they lead. And what better way to lead than by starting your own venture? Founders and Grace share a vision that is to create spaces where women founders don't just exist but thrive. Founders has built an incredible community of over 10,000 women entrepreneurs across Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and beyond, supporting young women as they build, pitch, scale their startups. This conversation is just the beginning of what I hope will be a long-term partnership between Grace and Founders as we continue to uplift and champion young women in the startup world. Joining us today are two phenomenal young founders who are doing just that. They're not just navigating the startup world, they're reshaping it. Emmy is an undergraduate at Stanford, a researcher at the Stanford AI Lab, and a product leader at Develop for Good. From creating AI-driven healthcare solutions to leading a nonprofit that has impacted over 100,000 Thai youth, Emmy is a force of innovation and impact. And also, did I mention she's a TEDx speaker? So no big deal. Ira is a senior at Stanford, balancing a BS and MS in computer science with a specialization in AI. She's developed multimodal LLMs, built health-focused AI models, and even designed an adaptive storytelling interface for children. And as a co-founder of Foundess, she's built a thriving community of over 10,000 entrepreneurs across Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and beyond. So today we're diving deep. What does it really mean to be a young founder? How do you build something from the ground up while still in college? And how can AI be leveraged to create something truly transformative? Emmy, Ira, first of all, welcome. I'm so excited to have you both here. You've both built remarkable things at such a young age, and I wanted to start at the very beginning, right? So, was there a specific moment where you thought, okay, this is something that I want to do? And what ignited that action? What is an idea? Was it an idea, an experience, or a problem you just couldn't ignore? Emmy, if you could start first.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, hi everyone. I can briefly introduce myself as well. So beyond Sneha's introduction, thank you so much again for the kind words. I'm supposed to be a senior actually studying computer science at Stanford, but I'm actually currently taking a leave of absence to be working as an ML researcher at Huawei in Hong Kong. So that's my day job. And my night job is running Foundess, which is a nonprofit startup dedicated to making startups more gender equitable. And to answer your question, Sneha, what is a moment that I thought I needed to build this? So I can talk a bit about the nonprofit that I did back in Thailand called 𝗘𝗺𝗺𝗃, which is also a startup nonprofit. And so I grew up in Thailand. I was struggling with clinical depression from the age of 12. And it was a really hard time kind of building your self-esteem while also building your community and your identity in your teenage years. And my sister, Nanny, also unfortunately struggled with depression. And we had really struggled to be open with our mental health issues alongside the millions of other Thai youth who are struggling with the same mental health disorder. And we noticed that in Thailand, a lot of people felt burdened and ashamed about their mental health. And it was kind of like, having a broken leg, but being too afraid to let your family or your friends know about it because you're just scared of what they're going to say. And so you continue to suffer and just never heal. So given that problem, I just lay awake one night and I was like, we should do something about this. So we founded 𝗘𝗺𝗺𝗃, which is a nonprofit making accessing depression therapy just easier for Thai youth. And we started off with the lowest barrier of entry, an Instagram account, and eventually got so much traction to the point where we were like, we need to build an app out of this. So we designed not only one app, but a series of apps that help solve this problem by connecting psychiatrists who are volunteers to depression therapy, as well as making apps about stress relief. And one of them actually got to #2 in medical app rankings in Thailand. And we were also lucky enough to get the Prime Minister's Health Innovation Award, as well as being featured in Apple's WWDC 2 years in a row. So in my opinion, the best startups really boil down to how passionate a founder is about the problem. Like, do you lie awake at night thinking about this problem? Do you have a solution that just simply can't get out of your mind? And I think that if your answer to either of these questions are yes, you should definitely go for it and launch your startup.
Amazing. Ira, if you want to add something or just talk about your experience.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, like I'm super honored to be here on this panel. Thanks, Grace and Deborah for having me. Emmie, also like super grateful to be working with you, and Emmie's my idol. But to answer your question, I also am from Thailand, and I grew up in an island called Phuket. And ever since I was young, me and my family worked with this nonprofit that helps orphans that were affected by the 2004 tsunami. And one day when I was talking to like one of the nonprofit managers, they were kind of talking about how like a lot of the resources that are, you know, getting like distributed to nonprofits don't really come to like further areas, like rural areas in Thailand. And like people tend to like focus on these like more like dense like cities in Bangkok. So they were complaining like they weren't getting like things that like they want, the things that they got weren't like exactly what they really needed at that time. So I was thinking a lot about it, like went home, and I was like, how, like, you know, I'm like, I was 15, 16, I was like, had some ideas in my head, how can I help? And decided that my family worked with this nonprofit that helps orphans that were affected. Sorry, guys, that was my Apple Watch. But when I was like thinking about it, I really wanted to build like some kind of platform that like kind of condenses like all that information about like what a nonprofit needs into like one space, and started building an e-commerce platform along with like a wish list platform out of my time in high school, and recruited some like engineers to like come help me build. I didn't know how to code, so like I tried like learn a lot from that experience. And I just thought that like this was a problem that someone like close to me that I worked with was experiencing all the time, and wanted to do something about it. I'd say like the process of starting it was really hard, because a lot of people were like, oh, you're too young, or like you don't even like know how to build this, like why are you doing this, like let someone else. Like heard that a lot, but at the end of the day, like my like driving force was you know, the people that I was closely related to, like the people I was helping, and they really like enjoyed the product. And after that it got featured on one of Thailand's like social enterprise like TV shows, and like kind of like scaled there to like nonprofits like in like all 5 regions of Thailand. And eventually, before I came to college, it was acquired by an exec. So now yeah, like that was like my start to kind of like doing something that I think I want to like solve in the world, and kind of like overcoming some of those like initial you know, thoughts that bubble up from people. But yeah, like after that, I just like realized that like, hey, like even if you don't know anything, like how to build anything, like if you have an idea, like you can make it happen. You can like find the right people, you can like ask for mentors, and like piece that all together. And like never doubt yourself, and never say no to something you really want to work on. Yeah.
Amazing. I love how both of you are like so purpose and goal driven. I think that's so important to starting something new. Following up on that, I actually want to ask, I mean, Ira, let me ask you this, right? So building something from scratch is one thing, but sustaining it is another, What was the hardest part of going from just an idea to something real and impactful? And looking back, what's one piece of advice you would probably give to someone who's at the starting line right now?
Mm-hmm. I think a very important thing is once you have an idea, like defining kind of features or goals that you want to accomplish, like what do you want to see out of like that idea? Like what do you want to happen? And then some from that point onwards, like boiling down like maybe what you need to build in order for that to happen. Like we do that a lot with Foundess. Emmy's really great at leading it too. But like if like we're now hosting this Hatch Accelerator, which is an accelerator for women founded gender equitable teams all over the world, basically. And first we had this idea, we want to support these founders, and then like try to distill like, okay, like how an accelerator, and like kind of like boil them down and down into like kind of like weekly goals to like how to get there. So an action plan is like really important in order to like start executing on like whatever you want to build.
Amazing. Emmy, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think Ira put it really well. And one thing that I want to add is really just drawing attention to Murphy's Law. You know, Murphy's Law says anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I think that really succinctly encapsulates the startup experience. There's so many factors that go into the success of a startup, whether that be founder market fit, product market fit, competitors, team dynamics, cash, personal factors. Is your family even supportive of you building that startup? So it's kind of like the Infinity Stones of the Marvel universe. Like, in order to do well, you need to have them all, right? And that's so difficult. And so I think that you will inevitably fail if you are a founder, like in small ways. And I have like literally so many times, but I think that the one thing that differentiates successful founders from the non-successful founders is grit. Like, how many times can you fail and then get back up? How many times can you feel despair so deep that you don't even want to get out of bed, but you force yourself to do so because you're on this mission? So I think that creating something impactful really takes time and hard, honest work. And if you can do it, then I believe that you can move far.
Yeah, I think it's an extremely daunting process, especially when you're starting young. But I think one of those things that could really also help is mentorship. And that's probably leading me to the next question. We talk a lot about the importance of mentorship and networking in the startup ecosystem, right? But it's not always about, let's say, quantity. It's always about having the right people around you. So I want to ask you this, Emmy. In your journeys, what's one connection or what is one mentor or support system that made a defining difference for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the one mentor that comes to mind that I'm really, really grateful for is the CEO of the ed tech startup that I was a part of as my very first job. So right out of high school, I joined this ed tech startup called 𝗲𝗄𝗬 as a product manager. And to say the very least, this is my first experience in the startup community. And the CEO himself is such a force. His name is 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗧. He took me under his wing, showed me the ropes of how does fundraising work, how can you communicate effectively, what are the importances of getting the right people on a team, how do you hire, like basically like a crash course in a matter of 3 months before I started Stanford of how startups work. And I'm really grateful to have had this mentor in my life. And I think that every single founder should have someone that they can look up to and talk to on a regular basis. So I guess my advice for getting these mentors would be to think about what your dream life looks like, right? Like, do you want to be a startup founder? Do you want to be a super successful social media influencer? Do you want, like, what do you want to be? Then identify a group of individuals on LinkedIn or like in the media that you think would be a great mentor for you. Like, they emulate this dream life that you've conjured for yourself. And then I would say to reach out to them via LinkedIn or email. I think cold outreach gets a lot of really bad rep, but it actually does work. And it really depends on how personal you are in your outreach, how persistent you are. And it's also a numbers game. There will be people who won't respond to you. But I think if you are persistent, you will find someone who will suit you as a mentor.
Yep.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Senia, were you saying something?
No. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I definitely second that. I feel like having a strong group of mentors that like have been through similar situations in life can really narrow the information gap, because like we're all like very young, and there's like a lot of ambition in us, a lot that needs to be learned as well. But if we like kind of cross that with like people who have like had experience in fields and kind of like narrow that gap, like imagine what you can do, the potential of like all the things you could like that you could like kind of narrow in on how you want to focus your time and all that stuff. Like I think that's super powerful. And like to answer your question, like one mentor of mine that has been like super impactful to my life is my professor, or like my mentor at Stanford, Todd Coleman, who has believed me from day one. As a freshman, not knowing anything, I started work in like brain signals with him, and he taught me everything from the ground up, and like was like very supportive of like my own engineering like journey. And I think one thing to like look for in a mentor is someone who believes in you no matter what, like sees something in you when you don't see it in yourself, like who can lift you up when sometimes like you don't see that you can go forward. And I think a way to find someone like that is to really be in tune with like what are like some like characteristics of people that you find like you are attracted to and like you kind of like resonate with, and find those people that have like shared values to you, in like in ways to like in living life, like more than expertise or knowledge, right? Like how someone who like talks in like a similar pattern, similar language, whatever. And those people are gonna be like most likely to like see something similar to themselves in you, and therefore like be there for you when things are rough. So I think that's like one point I wanted to make about like finding mentors. And yeah, overall, like know that people mean well, and like people want to help, and there's so many people out there who are willing to help. All you need to do is reach out.
Yep, that's great advice. I wish and pray that everybody, crosses their path with somebody as incredible as the mentors that you found in your life. So let's talk about AI a little bit, right? So it's reshaping basically everything. I mean, from product development, you have decision making to customer engagement, and you've both built AI-driven solutions. So tell me, like, what's a project or an AI-driven feature you're most proud of, and how do you use AI? How do you see AI shaping the future of startups? Emmy, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, for sure. So I can answer the first question of an AI project that I was really excited to build. So this was actually my latest startup. It was called 𝗫𝗄𝑚. It is an AI-driven building modeling platform. So it takes a user's prompt like, build me a 2-story brick building that's the shape of a triangle. And then it just instantaneously builds it for you in a 3D format so you can manipulate it later on. And it was a lot of engineering work, and I learned a lot, not just about like full stack development, but also building scalable autonomous AV systems. I think to answer your second question of how AI is going to shape the entrepreneurial system and entrepreneurial ecosystem, as well as how it's going to shape the future, I think that code generation and building will converge to a building cost of 0. Making apps is easier than ever in this day and age. You can literally use a million, like thousands of models out there to build your first minimum viable product. So to me, what matters most to startups isn't how necessarily good your product is anymore. Like, yes, it is still very important to build a really good project, but it's also really important to distribute it and make sure that people adopt it at scale.
I think
Yeah.
completely resonate with that. I feel like it's becoming like super like easy, like faster than ever to ship a product, like build a product, and everyone should like leverage it for like any solution that they want to build. And as for me, a project that I'm like very proud of is something I'm working on right now, actually at the Coleman Lab and with the Stanford Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. And with that, we're building a like imagine Word document that is like that can interact with your emotions, kind of know what kind of state you are at as a writer, and like kind of be able to react to you, help you write, help you like be able to like manipulate the writing interface in ways that like fit your personality and writing personality, using like physiological signals that haven't been like utilized before in like creative writing tasks and whatnot. So that's coming up, and we're very excited about that. And in terms of how do I see AI shaping the future of startups, I think definitely it's becoming super easy to build. But something that's coming out of that is I see that there's this value of like, especially I see a lot of builders and like ideas at Stanford being more shifted more technically and like more domain specific. So for examples in applying AI to areas like biotech, and other applications that are like more geared towards the natural sciences, some kind of like foundational science background. I feel like there will be a lot of like impactful applications coming out of that too, because like now more than ever, these models are so powerful. It can start like reasoning and like learning about all these things that like previously it couldn't, and like humans couldn't like grasp it all. So I think it's like a very exciting time for us. Can't wait to see what's gonna go on.
I mean, following up on that, looking ahead, right, AI is evolving rapidly. We have multimodal AI, we have autonomous agents, we have real-time personalization, right? If you had to name, probably say one AI trend that young founders cannot afford to ignore in 2025, probably what would it be?
Should I go first, or you're doing it?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think for me, it would be sales automation. I think that there's so many tools out there that I have been seeing popping up in my LinkedIn feed that is trying to automate sales, like whether that be Artisan, Apollo.io. And I think that you just can't ignore that as a young founder, because a lot of the times you're trying to sell your product. And having AI be able to accelerate your the automation of your outbound emails and your messages, if you don't use that as a founder, I think that you're going to be losing against your competitors. Because ultimately sales is a number game. Like, not only do you have to be personalized in the way that you give out your sales messages, you also need to reach out to as many customers as you can. So I think that founders should definitely leverage the power of AI in automating, at the very least, their sales funnel.
I definitely agree with that. And like with all these like tools out there, it can like maximize, like definitely as a small team, like maximize your productivity and like how much you can do by so much. I would say like maybe speaking from like a technical founder lens, I think something that's like very like hard to ignore is kind of going back to the literature and reading about like how models are built, and like how you can like arrange like the memory architectures in different ways could be very useful, because by like deeply understanding that, you can understand the tools that you're using way better, and how to like optimize it way better. So for example, like we heard about DeepSeek, like and they were very smart in the way they like organize their memory and to train. And so it's like about optimizing the resources that you have to be able to achieve outcomes like that maybe other people with more resources can also achieve. I think now like it's more evident than ever that any team can basically be super optimized and like super productive if like they kind of like focus their energy to like learn how like technologies really work foundationally.
Yeah, so back to the basics then. That's more important. Yeah. I want to
sure.
zoom out a little bit, right? So entrepreneurship, let's talk about that. I mean, it's full of highs, it's full of lows, and I just want to ask, I think, this is something that you could answer. What's been your biggest high so far, the moment where you thought, this is why I do this? And on the flip side, what's been a low that maybe taught you like a valuable lesson, and that's something that, you think of a lot before, stepping into something else?
Mhm. That's a really great question. Is this specifically about Foundess?
Yes, anything that you'd like to answer about Founders,
Mhm.
about entrepreneurship in general.
Yeah, I can talk like definitely a high from like building Foundess is like after every event or during every event, like talking to founders and to like our participants at the end and them kind of voicing that like this community really supports them and they really wish it existed in other situations and feels like the community we have built is very meaningful and like is helping people and helping support people who are building things on their own. So I think, just having people like come up to us like at the end, like saying like, thank you for like doing this. This is like the greatest like achievement for us, for me and Emmy, basically, because ultimately we want a community that builds value for everyone that that we invite to all our events. And that, yeah, I think that is our end goal. Like, I think we've met it, and like whatever we do after that, like I'd be very happy about. So that's one thing. Another thing is like more like a balance of time that I have to tackle. And there's been like highs and lows where, I'm also a full-time student. So like when things come together at the same time, they're like deadlines, like I need to like try to like arrange things and like make sure that every commitment is like being met. So that is something that sometimes like it gets hard, but at the end of the day, I like look to my team and we like support each other all the time and like realize that like, yeah, we can get through this no matter what.
Yeah, definitely echoing Ira's sentiment. I think that the high for me for Foundess as well is just having people reach out like after the event, after the speakers, or even like on LinkedIn being like, this is amazing. I wish I had this when I started my entrepreneurial journey. And just seeing the amount of engagement and good feedback that we've gotten, we're just like, yeah, we're positively contributing and we're making an impact, which always feels good, right? And a low for me as well would be to be balancing Foundess alongside the full-time job that I currently have at Huawei, and also trying to have a social life and having just like many things on my plate. I think that's one thing that I really echo on Ira's end. And another thing is there have been some, like team issues in terms of like in the past, not necessarily with Foundess, but like in previous projects, like just there's a misalignment in expectations. People are not in the right, like place in their life to be contributing to a startup at this moment. And so there have been times where I had to have some really tough conversations with people. And so wanted to like, highlight that low in order to stress the importance of how important the team is in an early stage startup. I think your co-founders matter so much when you're building a new venture. And if you have the right co-founders, you're going to go really far.
Amazing. As somebody who supports Founders with all my heart, I can obviously vouch for it. I think you both are building amazing things, and I just can't wait to see what where Foundess will go after this, right? And also with the Hatch program going on, I think a lot of I do follow Foundess on a lot of social handles, so I've seen the kind of work that you're doing as well. So I think it's amazing. I think before I go forward with my next question, I just want to inform all of those who've attended the webinar. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat right now. And after this question is answered, we could probably take up some of these questions. Okay, let me just, this is the last question that I have, right? So let's fast forward to 2030. I mean, AI will have transformed startups in a way we cannot even imagine or comprehend. What's one big change you believe AI will bring to startups, and how can today's young founders prepare for it? Emmy, would you like to go first?
Yeah, for sure. I think echoing my previous answer, I really do believe that the building cost of any product will converge to zero. Just because anyone can build at this point, people can definitely create MVPs like almost in a day. People who don't know how to code can create apps that will get thousands of users. So I think what really differentiates successful startups from non-successful startups in 2030 and even beyond is really distribution. I think whatever defines a great product, a great startup, is the amount of users that you have and the amount of impact that you can ultimately bring to the market. And that really comes down to sales. It really comes down to getting the word out there that your product exists, getting people excited about your brand, getting people to understand the value proposition you have, and ultimately use it. So I think a lot of founders, especially in the Stanford community, don't recognize this early enough. And there's so many hackathons out there, so many startup competitions that have really good solutions, but they don't really go anywhere just because the distribution channels aren't there. So I think if you're starting now, I would really recommend early stage founders to not underestimate the importance of distribution, to underestimate the importance of marketing and understanding how to get your product in the hands of your customers.
Yeah, I like agree with you fully. I mean, I think it's really important to like stay like in touch with like who you're building for and serve your customers the most. I think something I've been thinking about a lot. One big change that AI is bringing to the world is it's easier than ever to build, right? If everyone's building, what is the moat? So I think one thing that me, like as a founder and like people young right now could be thinking about is like how do we build like a moat to kind of make like our product be unique from others and like kind of like build this kind of like foundation for our products to like kind of excel like throughout like a long period of time when it's just super easy to build like a similar product. So things like thinking about building things that are domain specific or like going deeper into a technical field in order to like really understand something and build something that maybe like no one has truly gone that deep in, and so you're like an expert in that field. So thinking about things like that and how you can like bring a unique lens to whatever area you're building in. I think yeah, that's something I'm thinking about. So I'd yeah, would love everyone's thoughts on that too.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. I don't see a lot of questions in the chat. I mean, is everyone like able to access the chat though? I think I have enabled permissions there. Please drop in your questions in the chat box. Okay, we have a question. Okay. Let's just start with this then. So so the question is, how did you go about finding the right problem or product to tackle? And how do you evaluate whether it is a good idea or not? That's the first question that we have. And Mariana, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Cool.
I think I can answer it from like the lens of how we started Foundess and like how we decided what product to build. I think the key is to like understand who we're building for like super deeply. and like know what we like our customers care about, and like know what like our customers want. And I think that's like been very easy for Foundess, because we wanted to build for like students like us who are like in a like technical space in CS or like in an engineering field, but also founders. And this area is like heavily kind of populated by like certain like kind of certain parts of the population, and like maybe like and sometimes like men, and like areas like that where it's hard to find like other women building in like similar spaces. So we kind of like have both experienced like that problem firsthand, and that has helped us in like when we're brainstorming for like, oh, what would Foundess need to build, like events or like hackathons that are like focused to be gender equity. Like that kind of came naturally because of like us being like super close to the problem. And I'd say that like that goes for like any other problem that you want to try to solve. Maybe choose something you've like encountered before, or like choose something that you are able to go out and like ask a lot of people about it, and like really go deep on like what are the problems that they're like seeing day to day, and how can we solve for that. I think that's like key to like coming up with a product. I think the customers will like give you answers.
Yeah. Just adding on to that, really echo that. I think that like this is a really great question that every single founder out there is trying to solve. Product market fit is the holy grail, and you can't just buy it. It's something that you need to work for. And in order to get to that point, you need to talk to as many people as possible who are your ideal customer profile. So one of the classes at Stanford, it's called Green Launchpad. One of the requirements that they give us is that we need to interview at least 20 people every week. And some of the more stringent fellowships out there, they said to interview at least 100 people, which is crazy. But you get the idea of how much you need to talk to customers in order to validate their pain points, their customer journey, and how your product fits in. I think there are a lot of resources out there that kind of tell you how to get out of the pain cave, which is a term that I've heard about thrown around, where founders just don't really know what product they're building. They don't know if their product is a good fit or not. They don't know if like customers really want their product. So would really advise you to look into resources online. I will definitely post it on my LinkedIn eventually. So feel free to check that out on there as well. But yeah, I think it's definitely like something that you need to work on and talk to as many people as possible in order to find that answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
hope. Yeah, sorry, Ira, please go ahead.
and to extend from that, I feel like customer behaviors always change. And so something to always be looking out for is like iterating and getting feedback like after every product or every feature you release, and being able to like, stay dynamically involved, and like always thinking about like how are people reacting, how are people changing, in order to build like something that's like long term, and like that will like exist for the world in the future. So yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Mariana. This is a question from Shrestha. What's one thing you'd like AI to help startups with?
Is this going to be for a startup idea?
I think
Because
there's
this is
like
also
so many
something that-
layers.
Oh, I think there's a slight lag.
Please go.
Ira, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. Ira,
Go
Ira,
ahead. I think like there's so
yeah.
many layers to how AI can help. Like, first of all, like help build a product in the very early stage. Second of all, help use AI tools to help run like internal operations in the team. There are so many things to automate in a startup. And also like AI can help you like keep like iterating on your tools, and like building like new features for your tools, and constantly like be learning about like new knowledge that might come up in the future. So yeah, definitely like broadly like you can utilize all these things that people have built out there for your benefit in your startup. Emmy, do you want to take it on?
Yeah. Hopefully the internet is okay. I'm calling it from China, so the VPN might be a little bit jank. But yeah, I can go ahead and answer the question. I think one thing that would be really cool to build out is for aspiring founders, how do you best evaluate whether or not your idea is a good one? Such that how can you perform more intelligent competitor analysis, perform analysis on your customer profile? Is this, an ICP, ideal customer profile that you want to serve? Do they have spending power? Are their sales cycles quick enough? All of these questions, I think, is something that's really time consuming. From my previous startup, building 𝗘𝗺𝗺𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗺 as well as 𝗘𝗺𝗺𝗺, it was really difficult to answer these questions for investors, and it required a lot of manual search. So what if there was a way to automate that for aspiring founders? And I think it requires a lot of engineering work and kind of understanding where the data sources are from, and creating tools that accurately reflect the ecosystem. But creating some sort of tool that kind of automates that auditing process for early stage founders, I think would be really useful.
Shrishta, I hope that answers your question. We can take one final question. This is from Debbie. How would you suggest marketing your product when your client or audience would be in healthcare? In other words, where do I start?
Ira, since you're in healthcare, do you have an answer to this?
I think that's a great question that I think everyone is also still figuring out. So you're on the right track in terms of where to start. And so I would say, so I have a bit of background building for rural hospitals in Thailand. In the start of COVID, like there was a shortage in ventilators, and rural hospitals in Thailand didn't have like enough funds, and like there was just a shortage of ventilators basically. So I started building something like from like my parents' garage, and tried to like help a field hospital in Thailand. And I'd say for just like getting in touch with like hospitals in general, um, use all the online sources that you have at your disposal. Like I literally reached out to a hospital administrator like on Facebook. Like he had it on his profile, and like, so use the hackiest ways to get to the people that you want to talk to. And yeah, like genuinely reach out to like tell them about what you're trying to solve. Like you just like genuinely want to learn more about it. And I think the key is like, I think these people who are like working in these fields like deeply care about their patients and like who they're working for. So I think it will not be like, it will be in their favor for like someone like you who wants to build something for them. So definitely try the hackiest ways, find the hospital website, find the Facebook pages, and go for it. Also something that I think some of my friends who are building in healthcare found really useful is all these Facebook groups. So for example, if you're building something for first-time pregnant moms, there are like all these forums like on Facebook that are like, oh, like I'm like, this is my first time like getting pregnant, what do I do, how do I prepare? Like there are like a lot of people giving advice there, so like reaching out to those groups and like asking questions in those groups could be like very useful too. Going through Reddit, Quora, and all these like forums. Say
I also have one thing to add as well. So I actually asked a very similar question, but for construction, to a venture capitalist at 𝗘𝗺𝗺𝗧𝗵𝗺𝗺, which is a really popular venture capitalist firm on the west coast of the United States, just for context. And one answer that they gave that really resonated with me is just being in the places that these people that you want to talk to will be. So like whether that be at hospitals that you want to target, so like the coffee shops at the hospitals, basically just like looking at, okay, he looks like a doctor, she looks like a doctor. Let's just like go up to them and start talking to them about their day, be really good conversationalists. And that eventually leads you into pitching your idea and getting them involved. So I think in this day and age, so many people put out cold emails. So it's harder and harder to get, to cut through that noise and to really like deliver value to your customers, because people get so many emails that they don't want to read everything, right? And so interacting with them in person and like having them see your face, it's a lot harder for them to say no. It's a lot harder for them to ignore you. So if you have an ideal customer profile in mind, this is a hospital I really want to target, just go to that hospital and try to talk to the people that you want to talk to in person. Even if that means like making a doctor's appointment, like literally going to your doctor and pitch your idea to them. That would be my advice.
That's some very unique and incredible advice, Amy. I think to finish this off, I think we could take one last question. This is a good way to end the conversation also. Shivani's question is, where do you see your goals in the next 5 years? Are there any specific changes you'd like to see in the world of women-led entrepreneurship?
I guess I could start. So my goals for the next 5 years really are loosely based on empowering women founders. I think like as a 2-time female founder myself, my friends are founders. Ira's my friend and she's a founder. These are personas that are very close to my heart. And I think that there's a long way to go until we can close the funding gap between female founders and male founders. So for me personally, starting Foundess with Ira and my other co-founders, it's really something that's close to my heart. And we're really dedicated to making our vision come to light by hosting Hatch, which is for context, an accelerator program for gender equitable teams, as well as female-led teams, and really giving people the space in order to take their ideas from 0 to 1. I think that a ideal vision that I can paint for my future is a world where female founders can build at the same caliber as their male founders, and gender isn't even a question in the success of their startup. So that would be my answer.
That is incredible. That's very beautiful, and inspires me every day. I think kind of like along a similar line for me is like, as like we navigate like life and like learn so much more, like each like individually, like me, Emmy, and like everyone in our team kind of like navigates things and learn about things in life. Like we want to be able to make sure that every like all that information is being shared towards like other female founders, and like other female founders in our communities are able to share their learnings with us and like everyone else in the community too. So when like we are all here like working together, our impact can be like so much more than like what we can do like by ourselves. So in 5 years or 10 years, I want to see like this community and like overall a culture of like female founders and engineers like being there to support each other, and like who knows like what we can achieve if like that is the culture. Like we're here to be there for each other. So trying to build that community right now, and like very excited about how we're going about it.
Amazing. I think we've covered so much ground in just one conversation. Emmy, Ira, you're both redefining what it means to be a young founder, and I know so many people are leaving this discussion feeling really inspired. And on a personal note, it has been such a pleasure working with the both of you. Your passion, your drive, your commitment to empowering young women in the startup world, I think is beyond inspiring. And I'm so excited to see what's next for Foundess and Grace. And I have no doubt that this is just the beginning of our collaboration. And before we wrap up, I just have an announcement to make. So after the webinar, we're hosting a hands-on workshop on the 5th of February with Ira, Emmy, and the team at DevRev. So if you're building something or even just thinking about it, this session will basically help you craft a product that truly resonates with users. And it's also about turning your ideas into impactful AI-driven solutions. So registrations will open soon, so please stay tuned. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us today. If there's one thing I hope you take away is this: don't wait, build, experiment, and take up space, because the future of startups does need your ideas, your perspectives, and your leadership. And this is just the start of our conversation here at Grace. So please stay connected, keep building, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thanks, Ira. Thanks, Emmy.
Thanks, Sneha, and thanks, Deborah and Grace, for having us.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you,
for
guys.
having us. This is a pleasure. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you guys soon. Bye bye.